All right, in this explainer, we're diving into a really fascinating study that used artificial intelligence to look at psychedelic microdosing. And what it found, well, it tells us just as much about our own minds as it does about the drug itself.
It's pretty wild.
So you've almost certainly heard about microdosing, right? It's this whole practice of taking tiny amounts of psychedelics. We're talking psilocybin here, the active stuff in magic mushrooms.
And man, if you go online, the stories are everywhere. People swear by it. They say it helps with everything from boosting your creativity and productivity to improving your mood and sharpening your focus. The claims are honestly pretty incredible.
But here's the thing. When scientists try to actually pin these effects down in a controlled lab, things get complicated. They kind of hit a brick wall. And that's what we call the microdosing puzzle.
So on one side, you have all these surveys where users are saying, this is amazing, it changed my life. But then you look at the other side, the super strict double-blind placebo-controlled studies, the gold standard for science, and the results are kinda meh, mixed, minimal, sometimes nothing at all. So what gives?
Well, that makes you wonder, right? What if the problem isn't the microdose, but the tools we're using to measure it? Think about it. Most of these questionnaires were built to capture a full-blown psychedelic trip. It's like using a sledgehammer to measure a feather. Maybe they're just not sensitive enough to hear the whisper of a microdose.
So how do you measure a whisper? Well, a really clever study from 2022 decided to tackle this by trying something totally new: language. The researchers had this brilliant idea. They thought, okay, forget asking people to rate their feelings on a scale from 1 to 10. What if we just listen? What if we analyze the words they're actually saying without them even thinking about it? Maybe the drug leaves a kind of fingerprint on our speech itself.
And to do this, they brought in the big guns, a type of AI called natural language processing, or NLP for short. The best way to think about NLP is like a superpowered microscope, but for words. It can see all these tiny patterns, emotions, and structures in how we talk that we would totally miss just by listening.
So they basically told the AI to look for two main things. First, verbosity. Super simple. How much did people talk? Were they chattier? And second, sentiment. What was the emotional vibe of their words? Were they more positive or more negative?
All right, so to really test this, they had to set up a super clean, totally unbiased experiment.
And they went straight for that gold standard we mentioned, double-blind and placebo-controlled. Here's how it worked. They got 34 volunteers. Each person came in for 2 weeks, and each week they got a capsule. But here's the key. Nobody knew what was in it. Not the volunteers, not even the researchers. It could have been the real psilocybin microdose or just a lookalike placebo.
A typical week went like this. You'd take your mystery capsule on Wednesday and Friday. Then on Friday, you'd come in for an interview, just talking about how your week went. And then, and this part is super important for what comes next, they had to guess. Hey, which one do you think you got this week? The real deal or the placebo?
Okay, so the experiment is done. The interviews are recorded. Now, what did the AI find when it crunched all that language data? Before we get to the big results, let me show you what the AI was hearing. Here's a little snippet of what it flagged as negative speech. You can just feel the vibe, right? Tired, doubtful. The AI picked up on that and gave it a really low sentiment score. And then, on the flip side, check this out. Just a few words, but the AI rated it as super positive. See the difference? It's pretty stark. The AI is definitely picking up on these emotional undercurrents in the way people talk.
So, the big question. What happened when they looked at all the data? Well, the results were pretty striking. It was clear. When people were on the actual psilocybin microdose, they talked more, and the words they used were way more positive than when they took the placebo.
I mean, the difference was so clear, they actually built a machine learning model that could guess who took what with 80% accuracy. Think about that. Just by listening to someone talk for a few minutes, the AI could tell if they'd had psilocybin or a sugar pill. That's insane. So, that's it, right? Case closed. Microdosing works, and it changes how we talk. End of story. Well, not quite. Because this is where things get really, really interesting.
Yeah, the story could have ended right there. But remember that last little question they asked? What do you think you took? The scientists decided to go back and look at the data again, but this time they split everyone into two groups, the people who guessed right and the people who guessed wrong. And what they found is just mind-blowing. When they looked only at the people who were truly blind, the ones who had no idea what they took or even guessed wrong, the effect just disappeared. Poof, gone. The AI's accuracy dropped to 50-50. It was basically flipping a coin. But now look at this. For the group who correctly guessed they got the psilocybin, the people who believed they were on it, the effect wasn't just there, it was supercharged. The AI could tell the difference with over 90% accuracy. The change in their language was massive. So, what does this all mean? The conclusion is just stunning. Those big, measurable changes in how people talked, they weren't coming from the drug itself. They were coming from the belief that they had taken the drug. It was all about expectation. Okay, now this is super important. This doesn't mean the effects weren't real or that this is all just a placebo. Those people really did feel better and speak more positively. What this amazing study shows us is that our own minds, our beliefs, our expectations are a hugely powerful ingredient in the recipe of our experience.
And that really leaves us with a big, provocative question to chew on. As we create these incredibly sensitive new tools, like AI that can analyze our language, what are we really measuring? Is it just the effect of a chemical on our brain, or are we finally getting a glimpse of something much deeper, the incredible reality-shaping power of the mind itself?